This is an experiment in eyeballs. So it's a single quad, 4 points, that square, that white square. And then I do my little spherical surface thingy on it. So that ends up getting broken up, in this case, into 8 triangles. And then the whole thing is mapped to a single material, which is I think it's 32 by 32 pixels. And that material is just completely white with a black circle in the center. By picking the UV coordinates at the time that I render the white quad, I can basically choose to place that circle anywhere I want, including off the edge, and thus give the illusion of the pupil looking to the left or right, or up or down. And here it's just randomly, it's in a shifty-eyed, it's looking sideways back and forth. It's not looking up or down. So when it blinks, that's what's happening when it does that. That was a blink. The quad itself, the 3D coordinates of the 4 corners of the square, shrink, so it becomes a shorter, a rectangle of lower and lower, but same width, all the way down to 0, and then it snaps back up, and it takes the same amount of time to go down as to go back up, and that total time is like 400 milliseconds. It's like 200 milliseconds each way. But while that's happening, I have to adjust things so that the pupil has independent movement, that I don't, just because I blink, it doesn't move the pupil. I think that probably the eyes are going to be too small to be a useful thing in a skinning sense. But I thought what I might do right now is just work on the eyeball engine, so that maybe someday I will have something that can support an eyeball that you'd see, like a close-up during a scripted scene or something. Normally I'd have autonomous behavior, so any critters you come around, they would have, their eyeballs, and they already have an agenda, right? They're living their little lives, and they are interested in things, and they interact with things, and the eyeball could just follow that action. The eyeball would look at the thing that they're interested in. The eyeball would go into sleepy display. That's basically the same as blink, but just half closed. And in battle, it's also a display device that could indicate, success or failure. So it might be an interesting sort of diagnostic chat bubble over the head of the critter. I've been thinking for a while about how I might do an eyeball, a low poly eyeball. And I think this is how I would do it. So in cartoon world, an eyeball is often shown as a shape, like this white thing, with a pupil inside. And it's usually associated with some amount of angle, like this top bar. It could be, down at an angry angle like this. Here, like that, or like that, and or a sleepy angle. And so anyway, just by modulating those 4 points, in theory, I could have a variety of cartoon angles, and because they're just points and I have to compute them anyway, I might as well animate them, like when they go between changes. But anyway, but if all that's happening and it's the proper size, it'll very quickly be too small to be seen. And what's the point? But as a status display indicator that's not always there, but when it is there is, truly informative, I just, get the illusion of some thoughtfulness going on. Oh, that's cool. See, the pupil is behind the water tower. And now the pupil is coming in front of the water tower. So, being implemented as triangles, it interacts with other triangle objects appropriately and disappears when behind them, unlike the skeleton, which is made out of some sort of radioactive juice that allows you to see it even through walls and through terrain. Okay, this is more eyeball experimentation in synSpace Drone Runners, version 10 in development. I added some tweaks. I can set a tweak by opening the chat interface and starting my line of chat with a slash. And then the tweak number, tweak 20 for example, I will set equal to 0. And what that does is it teleports me into orbit around planet 0. And I'll stop. And we'll see that here's my eyeball from the front. Wrote myself a little cheat sheet. Hopefully that's in focus enough. These are not necessarily final values, but the tweaks are organized into categories, and this is category 4, so all the tweak values start with a 4, so it's 400, 401, 402, so there's 100 possible tweak values. Let's first turn off lighting. 407. 407 equals 0. It will no longer be lit, so therefore at nighttime it won't be dark. It'll just be whatever its color is all the time. So now we have a white eyeball. So let's change the blink millisecond now. /406. It's normally 200 milliseconds. Let's make it 2000 milliseconds. Now the blink should be 10 times slower. Now my goal during the blink is for basically just the upper lid to go down, but the geometry of the eyeball to otherwise stay the same, and for the pupil to hold still. If I change /401, that's the gaze right. If I set that equal to 1, it should snap to the far right. /402 equal 1. So this is the pitch, and it's not being set at random, so it should remember what we set it to. Oops. Okay, well those don't seem to be working. 402, or are they just bad luck? -1. This should be extreme. Whoa. Okay, so those two didn't work. Okay, radius in meters. Okay, so this is the eyeball itself. So /403. 403 equals, I'm going to make it 5 meters in radius. So 10 meters across. Oh, well, oh yeah, and so now it subdivides into more triangles. My infinitely recursive tessellation. Let's speed the blink up again. That was 406. 406 equals, let's try 150. Okay, so fast blinks. That's nice. Anyway, pupil dilation 405. So 0.5 is the normal dilation. Making the number bigger actually makes the pupil size smaller. So let's make it 0.25. 0.25. So this should make the pupil larger by possibly twice. Yeah, so okay, let's /405. 405 equals 0.4 in between those two. And it's just a very large pupil. Okay, so that would be, anyway, so now the script, in theory, if the script was forcing the camera to be a close-up of a face with an eye on it, the script could set these same tweaks when it wanted to so like eyes could grow wide open and pupils could expand. And I don't know, I assume I'll add smooth animation of those kind of changes. Certainly the speed at which the dilation occurs should be not instantaneous. 405, I did this earlier, take 5. Yeah, okay, let's 405 equals 1. Yeah, so smaller pupil slash 405 equals 1.5. The pupil gets smaller, but we'll start to bring in stuff from the sides. So these textures are all on the same bitmap next to each other. And when you get out of range, I start to pull in colors from nearby. So 405 equals 7. Now it's bringing in, quite a bit of that's the Martian surface texture. And these are the player color textures, and there's a player face. Yeah, you can see all the textures that I'm using just mapped onto the eyeball. And you can see this is what the pupil texture looks like. It's just a white square with a pupil in it. Anyway, that's kind of cool. So let's bring that back to 405 equals, what does 1 look like? Yeah, that's kind of nice. There's a sphere that this is a snippet of. It has a center point which would be about here. I have to, define the 3D position of that center point, and it has to be behind the front-looking vector of the eyeball by just the right amount, so that the radius of the eyeball curvature lines up. If I play with this number, it will change the curvature of the eyeball. So it's good that we have it expanded right now, so we have lots of triangles. Okay, so we're just going to try and see what happens. 404 slash 404 equals, whoops, I already typed it, equals 3. Okay, so here we go, ready? And it got a little bigger, and you can see it got kind of distorted. It's not very spherical anymore. It pushed it from 2 to 3. It pushed it forward, which did flatten it out, but it needs to also have moved the center point back by a corresponding amount, because we really want these corner points here, which are the 4 quad points that define the entire eyeball. It's only defined by 4 points in space. I need them to be in the surface of the eyeball. And right now they're not. They're a little bit too short. So if I keep going, slash 404 equals 5, that should turn even more. Yeah, it gets sort of a parachutey kind of look. The actual curvature, as you can see, is flattening out. It's not as round as it was. So making these bigger numbers makes it flatter. So if I do it one more time, 404 equals 10, it should be really flat, but kind of hard for me to aim at. Yeah, that looks like that actually messes up the UV as well. Slash 404 equals 2. Send. Okay, so this is it not lit. Let's make it lit again. 407. 407 equals 1. Okay, so now here in the nighttime it's all dark. Anyway, so it's lit now. So let's change 111 equal 12. So now it's noon. Okay. Here, slash 408 equals 0, send. It's now one-sided. Oh, that's interesting. It's the wrong side. So I don't like the lighting on this in general, so I have to see why that is. Okay, anyway, so now we're going to, well, let's put it back to unlit. 407 equals 0. So we can see it and get a good look at it. All right, now I'm going to change the mat ID. I don't know what the number of this mat is, but it's a small number. We'll just step through them until we find it. 409, goodbye, pupil. And we'll switch to texture 1, material 1. Okay. Oh, that's the sphere in the center of the world. The sphere down there. This is its texture. So that's texture number 1. So next, let's look at texture number 2, slash 409. 409 equals number 3. That's tree trunk, slash 409, number 4. I think that's green. I think that's the canopy of the tree. 409. Shoot, was that 4? It's got to have been 4. 5. Oh, this is my fire texture. So this is a dynamic texture. The little pixels are updating in real time. And the idea is that if you have this kind of on the ground and you're throwing off the right kind of smoke particles, that this is a glowing ember fire or something. Okay, slash 409 equals, that was 5, what's 6? So the little life meters that show up when you're blowing something up, they can be different colors, and this is why. And also, it's not just debugging, because the tweak interface is how the script makes those same changes. Okay, well, thank you. So I changed the way the hives work now. They have a birth rate concept, and the gestation period of the hive is shown by the cube going up to a certain height and then slamming down, at which point it prints one critter, the next critter that it can make. And when the environment's better, then this is going up faster. So it's going slam, slam, slam. And if I can make them slam to the local music, that'd be great. And maybe the ground can, things standing on the ground nearby can shake up and down a little bit in response. And the thing there is that basically just updates some histograms that will come in later when I blow my battle horn to summon an army from the nearby hives that like me. At that point, the number of critters that will come to my call will be a function of lots of things, but including whatever the current population of this hive is, which should be growing. This particular hive in this particular location should be growing just 1 every time this thing slams down. But what you see instead is a fountain of critters pouring forth, which is nice. I mean, I'm doing that, and the frame rate is still, it's down to 11. That's not all that great, but still, maybe they can pour out of something. But this is what it looks like when things pour. Anyway, it's a bug, so it's pouring forth. And since it's a bug, it's eventually going to be fixed, and thus you'll never get to see this again. So this is what it looks like when you pour a column of biped critters down from a hive cube. And I'm not sure what the Oh, I guess each one's just getting a random heading. It gives the illusion of some spinning. Okay. Anyway, they look like me.